Hello everyone, welcome again to another episode of the Franchise Everything podcast where we talk about everything and anything franchising. And once again, we're doing a live podcast series here at the Melbourne Franchising and Business Opportunities Expo. And I'm joined once again by marketing maverick. I think that's what you call yourself, isn't it?
I prefer genius.
Okay, marketing genius, marketing maverick, genius marketing mavericks, John Dwyer, JD from the Institute of Wow. G'day, JD.
Thank you, mate. I'm very happy to be here.
Excellent. And
Wouldn't that be interesting if I said, I'm not happy to be here?
I think that's what you said. That was the gag you used at the start of the last one. Your material's getting old.
I know.
This one we're going to talk about something different. So we've just done the holiday prize promotion.
Yep.
And this one is something that I think will surprise a lot of people. And this is the chance to win prize giveaway promotion, which is like the $100,000 draw, how anyone in their business can give away the chance to win $100,000 or $1 million or whatever it is and how they can get it done. And I think it'll surprise a lot of people.
Yep.
Tell us how it works.
I'm pretty good at surprising a lot of people. I don't know whether you know that. And I will, I guess lead with, I have a system, a formula, whereby you can get $1 million for about $20,000 or $25,000. Does that get your attention, Glenn?
But I don't get $1 million. I get a chance to $1 million.
No, you just spoil everything.
Semantics.
You just spoil everything. Yeah.
Okay.
No, what it is that over the years, my business, the Institute of Wow, what we've done is that we've provided a lot of companies with insured prize promotions.
Yep.
And
so it's an insured prize.
It's an insured prize. So who wants to be a millionaire on television? Channel 9 doesn't give any of that money away. That's given away by an insurance company. And Channel 9 pays a premium to the insurance company based on the based on the difficulty of the questions. So if Channel 9 wants to give away $1 million and they lower the difficulty of the questions, they pay more premium to the insurance company.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you apply that to a business? So that's the basic mechanics of it. And I think, it'd be the same like Cadbury chocolates when they have $1 million prize giveaways. It's exactly the same, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I get a lot of businesses say to me over the years, oh yeah, but what if someone doesn't win the prize? I said, you've got to understand is that if you're getting an insured prize, and let's just say it's $50,000, right? Mm-hmm. And you've got a small business and you're able then to say, buy my product or service and you're in the chance to win $50,000. What happens is at the end of your 1 month or 2 months, then you draw out someone at a preliminary draw and that person turns up to your boardroom or to your meeting room and there might
an event.
Yeah, or to an event. There might be 100 envelopes on the table and a scrutineer has put the $50,000 check inside one of those 100 or 200 envelopes, and then your preliminary winner, gets to choose from those 50 or 100 envelopes. Now, it's done online as well. If you want to do it online, it's a little less theatrical, but you can do it online where there's a chocolate wheel and they just plug in number 62 and they spin the wheel, and if number 62 out of the 100 numbers comes up, then they win the $50,000. Now, if they don't win the $50,000, then you need to, as a business, give them a nice consolation prize. So therefore, that might be a holiday, it might be a $1,000 gift voucher. Don't give them a pencil case. They'll stab you in the eye with a pencil.
Yeah, I imagine you would. You'd be pretty disappointed, wouldn't you? Okay, so that's how they do it. So, and then you pay a premium on that. So what are the mains when you see? So any small business, for example, could go for a $50,000 prize. How would it practically be used? So can you give us some case studies, some examples of businesses using it and results from it?
Yep, we've done lots of them. One, it's more than $50,000, but it's a very good example. Being a marketing company, of course, we have all sorts of businesses knocking our door. And what we had is a resort in Fiji called the Hideaway Resort. It's actually owned by an Australian, but at the time it's since been sold. And he was running at 32% occupancy. And he said to me, listen, we're in trouble because at Port Denaroo, which is closer to the airport in Fiji, the Hilton and the Sofitel have popped up. We're an hour down the road on the Coral Coast and they're just not driving that far to come to us. And I said, well, you've got a 25-year-old resort. It's an old resort. And he said, well, we're running at 32% occupancy. How do I get more people to stay at my resort? And I said, you've mistaken me for David Copperfield. And I said, leave it with me. So I came back to him the next day and said, look, why don't we run a $1 million giveaway promotion? That got his attention because he thought he was going to have to come up with $1 million. I said, no, it'll cost you, I think at the time it was about $16,000. It might be a bit more now.
That's the insurance premium?
That's the insurance premium.
Yep.
And so what happens is that we put together a campaign for travel agents on the east coast of Australia because they're the people he wanted to Excite, because that's where most of his traffic
So
came.
they're the key influencers and driver of his traffic.
You got it. Because you can argue that people still, book their holidays online, but a lot of people still go through a travel agent because they don't trust the online booking. And so what we did is we put a campaign together for travel agents right across the east coast of Australia, and we said for every night that you book someone into the Hideaway Resort in Fiji, you got an entry into the $1 million draw. He went from 32% to 99% occupancy within a week, and he stayed there for 3 months. That meant a lot of money to him. And of course, I found out why he wanted to do something like this, because not long after that, he sold the resort. So
Okay, just wanted to get those numbers up.
Exactly. And what would happen is if you went to a travel agent at any time throughout those 3 months on the east coast of Australia, and you were there with your wife and you said, look, we'd like to go to holiday Fiji, what about the Hilton? Then the travel agent would say, no, Ebola. You've got Ebola at the Hilton. You don't want to go there. You want to go to the Hideaway. Or what about the Sofitel? Rabies. You do not want to go to the Sofitel. So I'm joking, of course, but the point is that the travel agents were given an incentive to book people into his resort, and the other resorts, of course, were, I guess, they just didn't know what hit them.
So what about this from a perspective of, let's take examples of a cafe.
Yep.
So how have you seen a cafe use it, for example, like a food?
Yep. And look, I might say, Glenn, we've done this for A to Z, so it doesn't really matter what the business is. The formula is a winning formula, and it's pretty much the same. So if it happens to be a cafe, then you'd probably run it you'd simply say, look, for every X dollars that you spend, you get an entry into the $1 million draw. So therefore, if your average spend in your cafe at the moment might be $36, you could say for every $50 you spend in the one transaction, because you want to get your transactions up. So if you say, look, for every $50 you get an entry in the $1 million draw, or in that instance, a $50,000 draw, or what have you. Because, for smaller businesses, they might not afford the premium, the insurance premium for $1 million, but for $50,000, you can get $50,000, and the insurance company will put that together for you for a few $1,000s. Now, what we do as a marketing company, we actually package it up. So we have a deal whereby businesses come to us, we do the promotion for them, we give them the $50,000 prize, and we provide them with all the bells and whistles. We call it the Golden Sweepstakes. And I think it's $4,900 they pay us, and they get the opportunity to run the $50,000 giveaway.
So what sort of time frame do people run it? So if you're going to run, you obviously get a lot more legs at it if you run it, less legs if you run it out for 1 month. You want to, what have you normally seen as a recommendation to run it for? Is it 2 or 3 months?
Yeah, I'd probably say 2 to 3 months. Yeah. So, most of the time the businesses who ask us to put this together for them, whether it's 50 or 100,000 or 500,000, generally speaking, they want to make sure they get as much as they possibly can out of this.
Leverage.
So they'll run it for a quarter of the year.
Yeah. Do you find them coming back and doing it time and time again, or like are people running through it in cycles?
Well, it's funny you should say that, Glenn, because I was talking to someone yesterday on a podcast, so it was very similar to this, and he said, JD, at the very end of it, he said, what would your advice be to any business? And I said, if you come across a winner, rinse and repeat, because you'll be amazed that we'll do these promotions from time to time. It'll break sales records for the business. And then 6 months later, they'll say, oh, JD, what else you got? I go, what else you got? Just do that again.
Yeah.
Have you heard of Crocodile Dundee number 2, number 3? Have you?
Did they get better?
No. But
That's the problem.
Yeah, but by the same token, the thing is, if you hit a winning formula, rinse and repeat.
Yeah. So how do business owners, how do you execute it with them? So you do Facebook stuff for them and everything for it, don't you? Give them, your style is to give pretty much follow the bouncing ball, isn't it?
Well, we do. I mean, look, seriously, unless you're a bigger business, most small businesses are run by good technicians. So they're a good butcher, baker, candlestick maker, but they might not be flash at marketing. And so therefore we understand that if we were just to give them the concept, they don't have a 10-person marketing team to make it happen.
Yeah.
So what we do is that we put a margin on the insurance premium for putting all that together for them. So it's a one-stop shop, and 9 out of 10 people who are running a business, that's what they want. If they're putting this together and they, for example, might be a furniture store, they say to us, look, we'll pay you, just put the insurance together, get the permit numbers if you need to get the permit numbers, and we'll run it.
Yeah, okay, excellent. And I think I'm surprised, and we talk a bunch of times, and I am surprised that franchise brands haven't caught up, but I'm sure there's some out there who've done some prize promotions.
Not a lot.
It doesn't ring a bell.
No. Well, look, what I see out there quite often is the business owner will say, you will win my product or my service. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're mowing lawns and you give away a month's worth of lawn mowing, it's pretty hard for that to compete against $50,000.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I'll put some links in the show notes and everything so people can get in contact with you. They can contact you directly and talk about this sort of stuff. I think these sort of things would be great because I think right now, well, especially any time really, but certainly right now I think it's very much important. Franchisors in particular focusing on helping the franchisees to find more sales, stimulate more sales and repeat purchase in the marketplace.
Glenn, I know I'm doing this, but I did all the big scratch bingo games for Murdoch newspapers over the years. So scratch bingo is not such a big thing now, but throughout the 90s and the early 2000s, we pretty much did all of the Rupert Murdoch newspapers, scratch bingos, and you might recall that none of them gave away products. It was all cash. So at the end of the day, if you ask someone would they like a product or would they like cash, they're going to take cash all the time.
Or a holiday.
Yeah, or a holiday, I mean, look, there's no question that the holiday program that we have, that works because it's you buy, you get.
Yep.
In this instance, it's you buy, you might win. So if you're going to give away, let's put it this way. A lot of people say to me, but, a lot of people would just like to win small prizes, not the $50,000 or $100,000. I say, okay, well, you tell that to Channel 9 and Eddie Maguire, because then they'll change that show from Who Wants to Be a Millionaire to Who Wants to Win a Week's Worth of Groceries, and they'll have 11 viewers, all right?
Exactly.
So, don't give me that. That's just rubbish to even think that way. People, if they're going to enter a contest, do not want to win a refrigerator, a TV, or a week's worth of groceries. When I say they don't want to win, they're not going to get excited about that, but they will get excited about the prospect of winning $50,000 or $100,000. And if you get it for an insurance premium of a few $1,000s, then why would you even think about giving away a week's worth of groceries?
Excellent. All right, JD, thanks again, mate.
By the way, before you go, you were supposed to ask me about my book.
Oh, geez, you remembered everything, don't you?
I'm disappointed.
Okay, let's show us the book there. And it's not suggesting anything, but you needed to create the biggest book. You need to create the biggest book around for some reason.
Talk about the size thing, but anyway.
Go for it. Talk us through your book that you've got out there in the market.
The reason I bring this up is because, Glenn was the stimulant for this book.
Sounds weird.
Yeah, when I hit the seminar circuit, we were having a beer or 100 beers, and he said, with all the ideas that you've got over the years, JD, you ought to write a book. And I said, I've already done that. And it was a normal, size book. And he said, no, you want to do a big one. And I said, what do you mean? He said, make it the size of a tabloid newspaper and call it the Wow Manifesto. And I have to say, out of this book, there's 20 years worth of ideas in there.
I don't think he's going to get that on the camera. You better open it up a bit more.
All time.
Don't break the spine.
All timeless. So it doesn't matter whether this was an idea from the 90s or from the early 2000s. But basically, I didn't put the ones that didn't work in here.
No, of course, you never would. Don't talk about those.
And I wanted to say thank you to Glenn publicly because this book has made me $11.8 million and I've never paid him a cent for it. Thank you.
No, I didn't get a percentage at all.
I've always meant to say thank you for that.
It's all right.
The only reason I say that is that if anybody would like that book, do you mind if I just give it to them for free?
Go for it, mate. Yep.
Just go to wowmanifesto.com/free and you will get this book. And my auntie, Mother Teresa, taught me to live to give, so that's why I'm doing this.
Yeah, you mentioned her quite a bit. On that note, on Mother Teresa, let's thanks again, JD, for joining us, mate.
Thank you very much, and I know you meant that sincerely.
Absolutely. And that's it again for the Franchise Everything podcast. If you like this thing, please like, subscribe, share, do all that sort of stuff. Especially, I love these sorts of strategies and these sorts of things talking to JD because these are about making more sales for people in small business right now, and particularly from a franchisor perspective, it's about helping franchisors to find strategies that are repeatable, rinse, repeat for marketing to create more sales for franchise owners to make them more profitable, and that's the name of the game. So we'll catch you in the next one soon.